Welcome to Wrong Time Watch. My name is Kevin, and today we're looking at the Phoibos Voyager 200 meter automatic dive watch. Particular model number for this is the PY035C Black. So black means obviously it has a black dial. This is a nice gilt and black dial. I originally, a few years ago, I was not a fan of the colorway, the black and gilt, but now I'm a big fan of the black and gilt colorway. Here's one of my favorite watches in my collection, the Black Bay 58. So yeah, they look, I mean, kind of similar, but not really. Just, I guess, similar in the colorway, and then also how the logos are the same gilt color, but that's about where the similarities end. So back to the Phoibos, however you're supposed to say it. The price on this is $309. Has a double domed sapphire crystal with AR coating applied to the underside. Get a sense of the dome here. Let's zoom in and take a closer look at the indices. These are applied indices, and again they have the gilt colorway. Also, you can see the date window is boxed in as well. The date is not so easy for me to see. I'm having trouble with the red on black, but it's nice to have it there. I would prefer no date, but this date at 6 o'clock is about the best place to put it in my opinion. And it is nice that it's boxed in with the same gilt colorway as the hands and indices. Hopefully you can see the indices here are applied. Most of them are dagger shaped, and then you have this hexagonal type shaped here at 3 and 9, and then 12 o'clock is a bit of a larger dagger shape, and then of course at 6 o'clock you have the date. So I also like how automatic is in red. That ties in with the red date there. And then all the Phoibos watches have this octopus. It's on the back of the case as well. Does have a ceramic bezel insert, and it is a loomed ceramic bezel insert. We'll check out the loom towards the end of the video here. Looks like my loom pip might be off a little bit here. So this is a dual time bezel, so 12-hour scale. With a 12-hour scale, I would prefer for it to be bidirectional, but this is unidirectional, just your typical dive bezel. Bezel action is very nice on it. Not the grippiest thing in the world, but you can see I'm not having any troubles turning it here. And then you can, hopefully you can see the minute track there. It's the gilt colorway as well. It's not so easy to see, but it is present on there. So the loom is 15 layers of C3 loom on the hands, indices, and bezel insert. So I'm sure this thing will shine very nicely. I'll compare it to my SKX 009 as I always do, but I'm fairly certain this is going to outshine the SKX. So it will have good loom applied for sure. Speaking of Seiko, this watch is powered by the Seiko NH35 movement, which is the date-only version of the NH36. Then there's also the NH38, which is the no date, and then the new NH34 movement, which is GMT, has a GMT hand instead of the day of the week. So there's that octopus on the case back again. It's present on the dial. So let me see if I can get this in focus. So sapphire crystal, Phoibos, automatic, water resistant, is 200 meter, 660 feet, 200 meters. So yeah, there's a quick look at the case back. So since we're here at the case back, you can see that it does have a screwed down case back, as you would expect for 200 meters water resistance. It does have solid end links, solid links, which are held in place with screw pins, so nice and easy to adjust the bracelet on this. This portion of the clasp is milled, and then this portion here is stamped with the dual pushers. So I really like dual pusher clasp instead of having a safety clasp. I think this is more than secure. And you have 3 micro adjust. Looks like they could have put at least 2 more micro adjusts in this clasp. You have some empty space here. So I don't know why this clasp is this long if it doesn't have micro adjust in there. But for $309, I'm really happy with this watch. By the way, this watch was loaned in for presentation by Cody, so we appreciate him sending it in. I'll put that in the description as well. I should have mentioned that at the beginning. Sorry about that. So there's the octopus on the clasp. So brushed with the polished chamfers, and then this is brushed on the side here. The bracelet itself is also brushed on the side, but then the center links are polished. We do have the positive end links here, so that sticks out a little bit farther than the actual lug-to-lug of the case. We'll talk about the dimensions in a moment. And again, more brushing here on the case. Almost the entire case is brushed except for the crown guards. So those are polished. And then the bezel is polished as well. So, oh yes, the crown also does have a signed screw-down crown. Forgot to mention that earlier, but you probably noticed it. Again with the octopus logo. So 1, 2, 3, 4 locations for that logo. I guess if you have a fear of octopi, you're not going to want to wear this watch. Kind of reminds me of Hydra from the Marvel series. So, yeah. This watch does feel heavy. It feels solid. It feels like a solid, well-built watch. I haven't spent much time with it, but I think the quality is there, and it looks good too. I don't know if this is a homage to anything else or not. I'm not really picking anything up as this being a homage to anything else, so this may be one of their own designs. I think some of their other designs are kind of more homage-y, but this one looks to be their own design. Okay, the dimensions. The positive end links here, 49.4 millimeter. Lug to lug on the case itself, 44.9. So 49.4, 44.9. The diameter of the bezel, I'm getting 39.1. It looks bigger than that, but it's not. This is a 39 millimeter watch as well. So I don't know what it is visually, but it looks a little bit larger than that 39 millimeter. It does have the nice short lugs if you don't consider the the positive end links here. Okay, 14.1 thick, so it is a thick watch, but you would expect that seeing how it's using the Seiko NH35 movement. Lug width is 20 millimeter, and that tapers down to 18. I'd like a little more taper. I think it will feel even more comfortable on wrist. I've not had any issues with this on wrist. It feels quite comfortable, but I just like tapered bracelets, so I guess that's more of a personal preference. Crown is 6.5 millimeter, maybe a little small, but it's not terribly small, so I think it looks good on this watch. And the weight, size for my 6.5 inch wrist, 152 grams, so it's a little bit heavier of a watch. Alright, let's compare it to my SKX, and then we'll get this watch on wrist. Let me zoom back out again. So the SKX is 42.5 millimeter at the case, and then the bezel is about 41 millimeter. So about 2 millimeter wider on the bezel than the Phoibos here, the Voyager. And the thickness of these are essentially the same. The Voyager is just a little bit thicker than my SKX here. Okay, let's get this on wrist. Again, I have about a 6.5 inch wrist, maybe a little bit smaller, with the 52 millimeter wristband, and with the positive end links 49.4, and then the case itself will round it up to 45. So I think it looks good on my wrist. is a little bit thicker and does have a slab-sided case, but I think it looks fine. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. I greatly appreciate it, and it really does help me out. So there we go. Look at this watch on my wrist. Alright, now here comes the portion of the video where we can check out the lume, and we'll compare it to my SKX, so I'll be right back. Sorry, one more thing. I wanted to mention the specs of the movement. I'm sure most of you know, but the Seiko NH35 is hand winding, so unscrew the crown, first pop out, turn the crown, and you're powering up the movement. Next position out will be date set. I'm not going to turn it because I'm in 10 o'clock, but you can change the date here. In the second position out, then the third position out, you're in the time set, and also the second hand is stop moving, so that's hacking. And the second hand ticks at 6 beats per second, so it's not a high beat, but it's still a fairly smooth sweep. And this watch has about 40 hours of power reserve. So now we will proceed to the lume comparison. So if you're a big fan of lume, you're clearly going to like this watch. It is not lacking lume in the least. Definitely outshining the SKX 009 on the right. So this is C3 Super Luminova on the left versus Seiko Lumibright on the right. Yeah, that's a lot of lume, so well done by Phoibos on the Voyager here. That will conclude this video. As always, thank you for your time and thank you for watching.